Hello everybody and welcome back down to Creek. For today's video I'm going to be reinstalling the TRAC Angler 30 Auto-Deploy Anchor Winch on the bow of my Tracker Pro Guide 175. So if you're interested in how to install this, or if you're looking for a review, you'll probably get some good information from this video. We will talk about it, so make sure you stay tuned. You're going to want to see this. Okay everybody, so I'm going to be reinstalling this TRAC Angler 30 on my boat. And the reason that I'm reinstalling it is because the one that I already had on the boat recently failed. Now, if something failed, you might be asking yourself, well, if it failed, why are you reinstalling it? And I actually did a whole video previous to this one on my experience with the product, what I thought of it, whether I'd recommend it, and my whole process with it. But the reason that I'm installing another one is because of the stand-up customer service that TRAC or Camco did. They understood my feelings with the product. I asked them to make it right. It was out of warranty, and they stood by their product and made it right anyway. It was just outstanding job by their part, and because of that, I'm going to put this back on my boat, and I would recommend that product to anybody. So now my boat has already had one of these on, so there's already a lot of things set up. But let's face it, this thing, it took a beating when the other one broke, right? My anchor pretty much dropped stone cold doing 30 miles an hour on a big lake. It took a beating, right? So we're going to fix the plate, make sure it's good. We got to rewire this one in, and I'm just going to show you the basics. With what you see here, you should be able to take this and install a new one as well. I'm going to make sure that if you don't have one and you're just looking for options to install it, you'll at least understand enough about this process to where you'll be able to take that knowledge and figure it out from there. So definitely want to see. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open this up. So let me get everything out and show you what parts I have. Okay, so it all comes in a pretty nice box, right? And it comes with instructions. It comes with some packing materials, obviously. It comes with this part here, which is kind of like where the anchor winch goes out of. It comes with a fuse, a bunch of wire, the hardware, the actual anchor winch itself, and the remote. So the parts we're going to need are all included. We're going to have a bunch of extra wire because I already have wires run for this. And I didn't have this though, this 20 amp fuse. The one that I had originally in the other one, it went with the other boat by accident. And I never did replace it. I just kind of wired it into the battery and hoped everything went well. But we're going to address that today. So we're going to put that on there. The thing I like about this is it works with a remote. So you don't have to run wires up to the console of the boat. It pretty much just works off of this here, which is great. And then it comes pre-wound with wire. And then this is the safety lanyard. And I will tell you that this crimp is done on the plastic. And although I'm going to use it as a secondary clamp, I will not be trusting this solely. I will find a new method of tethering this down so that I don't have the same problem that I had, and this will just be a secondary solution. we need to get some tools together, and I'm going to get up on the boat with all the hardware, the anchor winch, and we're going to get everything installed. So give me a second here. I'm going to get reset up. I'll be on the boat next. Get some lights so you can see what's going on. I'll get some tools in order, and we'll go from there. So give me just a second. Okay, so I'm up on the nose of the boat, and the first thing I need to do is take the housing off so that I can reach the winch and get to all the wires and see everything. And I know that this stubby screwdriver is just a tool that I need, because once I get this mounted, getting these screws back in can be very difficult. So there's 2 screws on each side of this plastic housing. Now, materials wise, there's a lot of metal in this, but the housing is plastic, which doesn't really bother me. And then there's like a little fitting that you can unscrew to unplug the actual wire connection so that the housing comes all the way off. And that leaves just the bare winch. So what I need to do now is I need to gain access to the wires. To do that, I need to take this panel off because everything's underneath here. When this failed, it was a couple days ago, and I tucked all the wires back in the hole. Now, the easiest way to gain access to this is to take off basically the whole panel and not just this little black faceplate. So that's what we're going to do. Now, Tracker used these square drive screws that are self-tappers. So I used a square drive bit and an impact, and I'm just going to take out these. Now, there are a couple regular screws in here that before I realized that they were square bit, I was taking them out with a Phillips, and I managed to strip a few, so I don't want to do that anymore. So now I use the correct bit. So now I've gained access underneath where I can get a hold of the wires. So that's them right there. Pretty straightforward. So basically what I'll do is I will run. I had them run through here. So I'm going to run them through here again. So that will go through. That will go through like so. So that's how we're going to do it. And I might change this up a bit because I have this piece right here. But I think I'm going to go ahead and just cut this off and connect this directly to the battery with this piece, although maybe not. So we will see. Let me game plan this, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have decided what I'm going to do here, and I'm going to install the winch itself first. And then I've got some connectors for the wires, and I'm going to figure out how much wire I need and all that good stuff first. So first things first, let's figure this out. So what you see here is a mounting plate that I purchased, and it's designed for this. You mount the plate itself to the boat, and then you mount the winch to the plate, and it just kind of gives it some structure to connect to. Actually, thinking about it, there is some bolts under here. I want to get a wrench for these, and I want to tighten these up. So let me get the wrench. Now I'm going to tighten these up because when that got to yanking on there, it was pretty substantial. I'm not trying to over tighten these, but I don't want it loose. You know, that is the point that connects to the boat. It's really only 4 screws. So definitely don't want that to come loose. Okay, so now that I have that, we need to figure out this winch. So the winch has holes. I know this is the front because it has the safety latch. So I've got a bunch of different drilled holes for a bunch of different drilled models. I'm going to line it up with the ones that make sense. Right there. And then I have the original screws, but let's see, did this come with new screws for this plate? We're going to find out. It does not look like it. It does come with bolts to bolt it directly. So we're going to use the original hardware that I had. I'm going to need a socket for that, and I need to figure out what size it is. So give me a second here. So believe it or not, it was 7/8. Man, the flies are kind of bad out here. I'm in the garage. I got the air on because it's really hot out. See, I want to use this, but I don't think that's going to work as I thought. So I want it to be washer, or I want it to be bolt, lock nut, washer. I think I need to get the ratchet. I don't think I'm going to be able to use the impact. Okay, so now the winch itself is firmly connected to the plate. So the next piece we have to install is this piece here. And it goes on with basically three very similar bolts. And we don't want that to get caught. So we need our stubby screwdriver. Where did I put my stubby screwdriver? Oh, here it is. Because we need to open this up so we can get to the mounting holes. It's just 2 screws. And then this will lift up like so. And then this goes here. Essentially like that. So I'm going to check and see if I have some washers. So I'm going to tighten the middle one most of the way so I can set it how I want it. So that goes like that. That's on there really sturdy. Now we can put our little 2 screws back in this plastic cover. So there, this is mounted now, and it hangs off the edge of the boat. It hangs off the edge of the boat here, and your anchor can come in and lock up. You've got your little cable here, which we're going to figure something out to make sure that that never comes undone. And you have your rope here, which we're going to actually hook power up first. So we need to feed these wires through and down the hole. So thinking about how to do this, I'm just going to give myself enough slack to get this done. So like there. So we're going to cut off the excess wire, like so. Same thing here. Cut off the excess wire. We'll keep that wire for another project. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed this wire that I'm going to use in through here. And then down through the hole for the wire. And then same thing with the negative. I'm going to feed it down through there. And I noticed that there's some shrink tube on here. So now we need to figure out the ends. And for that, we're going to go up in the top of the boat. So I'm very familiar with the wiring of my boat, and I know that these two leads go directly to the power, to the battery. So we want to set it up to where we can hook it up. So I want to set it with this here so that the fuse will be in line, and basically it'll go here. So I need a ring connector for this side, and then the negative will be hardwired together. And what I'm going to use is I'm going to use these heat shrink, heat solder. That's what I like to use for the boat because it seals it up really good. So I do have one ring connector up here, but I actually need to go get another one. So I'm going to go do that. And we'll crimp this on. So that crimp is going to give us a ring terminal to hook to the fuse. And then we'll do the same for this. I actually probably made this a little long, so we'll cut that. So those have to be heat shrink down now, and for heat shrinking these down, I use the heat gun. Now, I will tell you, if you're going to use heat gun in your boat, you better be careful, because I will tell you that if it touches that plastic carpeting that they use in boats, it will 100% melt the God-loving ever mess out of it. Right quick and in a hurry. Ask me how I know. So we're going to hook this heat gun up. And then we're going to take this heat gun, make sure it's on high, turn the blower on high. And we are going to shrink that down. We're going to shrink it down really well so that we get a nice watertight seal. Now all we have to do is put the fuse on, and to do that I need to take this end off. So let me get that off. Okay, so now we're just going to wire in this fuse. And to do that, we're basically going to take that side there, and this side here. So now we've got our hot connected. Now we need to do our ground. So there's a little bit extra wire there. I'm not worried about that. It'll be under there. So we've got this negative ground there, and we need this ground here. Now this solder piece has a little piece of solder in there. So that goes through like that, and then that goes through like that. You get it to kind of meet in the middle, and you put some heat to it. It'll heat shrink down, and you get that solder nice and hot. Now we want to let that cool a minute before we put it all back. And then technically we should mount this somewhere. So I'll probably get up there and look for a spot to stick that. But there's not that many options, to be honest. So I may just lay it in there somewhere. But there is a board back there. So those are all soldered together. So now we need to set up the winch itself. So to start with, what we can do is we can put the cover on, and we can take out this line here. They've got it taped. Get rid of the tape. We're going to put the cover on. Plug this back in. There's a little keyhole, so it has to go one way. And then it screws together with what looks to me to be a watertight type connection. And we can start putting the screws in the plastic cover. Now I get them started, and then I don't screw them tight until all of them are started, because you need to wiggle it a little bit to get it to go. But there's 4 screws. Okay, I got them all started. So now I'm going to tighten them all with my little stubby screwdriver, which you really got to have a stubby screwdriver with the way I have this set up, because there's just too much stuff up here to get a full-size screwdriver in there. Now let's see if it works. And it does. So it comes with this clasp here, but I have a clasp from the old one as well, which I'm going to come up with a game plan for that, because I want some sort of extra protection than this wire that they use. I don't trust this anymore. Trust is gone on this little thing. So we're going to try and figure something out with the spare one. And it does come with a little Allen key. So we need to get the anchor itself on. Now this is a Angler 30, so it can take up to a 30-pound anchor, and I do use a 30-pound anchor. Now we're going to try and make this easy. I'm going to give me a little bit of free play, and I'm going to come here and do up the anchor. So the last thing that I want to check is, it comes with a remote. I want to make sure that this works. I don't remember if I have to program this or not. There's a little black tab for the battery. And it works, and it comes with a mounting plate. I happen to have one up on the console already, so I'm going to use that. There you have it. So really that about wraps it up. All I have to do is put that front panel back on, and it's just screwing the screws back where I got it. So she's installed. If you want to hear the story about what happened with my other one, make sure you check out the previous video. I will put a little link for it up here. So thanks for watching On the Creek. I hope you got some information out of this. Get out there and live. We'll catch you next time at On the Creek.